Hello and welcome to Retro Roleplay. I'm your host Nifty, and today we're playing some Nioh. Some people have dismissed this game as just a Dark Souls clone, but I'd like to show off the title and kind of give you an idea of what this game is offering that perhaps its competitors are not. So let's jump into a max level character, and I'll show you what we're talking about. So here we are in this temple level, and we are playing New Game Plus, so the enemies here are actually the toughest the game has to offer. Maybe they're a little bit tougher towards later chapters in New Game Plus, but still tough enough for sure. So let's just run through the equipment real quick that I have on my character. We have the Akone no Sanaku spear, and feel free to butcher or make fun of my poor Japanese there. But it is part of the Red Demon set, and my character is a spear user. And we'll go through the perks on this weapon real quick. It has an agility damage bonus, which is great because I have high agility on this character. Life recovery by grapple, always good. Final blow damage increase, always good. Strong attack break is locked in. That one's not great, but I can't change that one. And then parry for a little extra block stability. Our secondary weapon is a Kishin Hammer, and we have refashioned that into a great axe just so it has a little more range. But it maintains the same stats, good attack damage. So it has additional strong attack damage, and it has fire enchantment, and we always want to be dealing fire damage with this build. Life recovery by final blow, additional break, and strong attack key damage. The break for this is actually 161. That's a huge amount of break on this weapon. You're able to smash through opponents' guards in no time, and I can imagine this is going to be a fun weapon to use in PvP. You can get a lot of grapple opportunities from this once that's released. We have the Sakai Rifle as our primary ranged weapon, and that's where all our range damage is coming from. Based on our stats, there's nothing else that's really going to work for us. In terms of its passive bonuses, long range attack damage, break, familiarity bonus, range bullseye bonus, retrieve stray projectiles. That's the really good one. Retrieve stray projectiles. Basically, any bullets that you miss with, you get to keep. But you get this weapon automatically when you beat the game, so everyone's going to have this. Then for our armor, we have Red Dragon armor, which is a good armor set if you like specializing in fire damage and spears. That's really what this armor set is geared towards. It also is going to give you very high agility because it's very light, and that means your stamina is going to recover super fast, especially when you consider the armor set's passive bonuses, which at the bottom you see key recovery speed plus 28%. That's huge. That means that you can attack more and then your stamina will recover faster, and then you can attack again. When you factor in key pulses, you can keep your offense going for a pretty long time. So that's really nice to have. 33% extra damage if the opponent's on fire. That's nice for fire builds. Absolutely, it's a must-have. Additional 11% close combat damage just in general. Additional attack and defense if you're using Enko. That's really not much of anything. The attack is nice. The defense, 10 points of defense is no biggie here or there. Damage reduction, of course, useful. And skill damage, Spearfall. Spearfall is a very nice top stance skill to use with a spear because it actually creates a hard knockdown opportunity where you can finish with a final blow. And as I pointed out previously, this is going to do additional final blow damage, so that's nice. On the charms, I wasn't able to find anything too amazing. Receive less damage attack when in critical state by 14%. That's really nice when I show you what passive skills I've invested in, because it's going to stack with those. And on this end, we have again less damage from when in critical status, 13%. Elemental attack damage is nice to have as well, and additional magic power. On here, we actually have some living weapon enhancements because the spirit animal that I have is not great with living weapon. It's really not his specialty. Going through the equipped spells I have, Rejuvenation Talisman gives you HP regen, very useful. Steel Talisman, it's a must-have. Fire Talisman, that's just going to make it easier to set enemies on fire when you're hitting them. Guardian Spirit Talisman, the usefulness of this item is 100% dependent on the actual Guardian Spirit you're using. And Enko the Tiger is a great summon spirit. If you summon him with this talisman, he is very powerful. And I'll show you that in a second. We have Fire Shot, and then Sloth Talisman slows people down. Okay, so showing off Enko and what he can do when you summon him. He runs forward, he claw strikes, and then he summons Fire Pillars. And every part of that move actually does damage. And the Fire Pillars will, again, create this hard knockdown opportunity when they fling enemies into the air and set them on fire, so you do extra damage to them. So this is amazing for crowd control, and the damage is insane. Very good summon spirit. If you're using some of the other spirit animals, I wouldn't even recommend Guardian Spirit Talisman, because it's just, it doesn't do anything. And there's no way of knowing which spirits are good with a talisman. You just have to test it out and see for yourself. But I've gone through and I've tested pretty much all of them, and this is definitely the strongest. At least in PvE. In PvP, it might be a little too telegraphed, a little too linear, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the benefits of using Enko the Tiger real quick. All his passive buffs and basically improves your default combat performance. So strong attack key reduction, additional 22 break, and that's a lot of break. Fire damage, grapple damage, and strong attack damage. And that only requires 16 spirit to use him. Now, I'm going to kind of do a general build overview in terms of stats, and then you're going to get an idea of why I call this my body and mind build, rather. So, of course, our major gouge stat is body. And the benefit of using body is that it greatly improves the damage you do with spears and greatly improves the damage you do with great hammers. And they scale amazingly well off that stat. But the main benefit, and you're going to see this in my life total, that I have 3,500 HP, and that's huge. That is a huge amount of HP. It doesn't really suffer from diminished returns like in a Dark Souls title. You can just keep pumping that sucker up, I guess, until, I'm not even sure if it hard caps at 99. It probably does. But you can just keep gouging that, and you'll just do more and more damage, and you'll just have more and more life. And it really puts the other stats, damage stats, to shame. Like Heart gives you stamina, and that's okay. But as I'll show you, there's actually some passive skills you can invest in that kind of does the same thing. You also get a samurai skill point every second level of body. So in the case of having 88 body points, I have 44 samurai skill points by default. Then, of course, we have 30 magic, and you're going to see this in pretty much every build. The difference between my magic abilities and say some of the other magic abilities people will choose is that mine focus on making the strongest human samurai as possible. That's hence the name Body and Mind. I don't want to be focusing on like infinite living weapon or any of that really broken stuff, because I love the default combat system in this game. Using key pulses, using skills, being a samurai, that's really what's fun about this title. And then 16 Spirit is just as much as you need to max out Enko. Spirit's not a stat you want to gouge. You never want to put in more than you need. Just enough for you to max out your Guardian Spirit. And then in case of magic, never go beyond 30, because past 30, you stop getting more magic capacity, so it's not even worth it. Going through skills real quick, you can assume that I've maxed out Spear in terms of all the skills I want to use. But on the passive end of things, I have Cornered Tiger, which gives me additional 6% damage when I'm at critical status. And then First Rule of Thrusting, additional 6% thrusting damage just in general. For my Mystic Art, I pick Fluidity, which allows me, every time I use a key pulse, he'll do a little baton twirl, and that'll actually do key damage and physical damage, and allow me to switch to another stance instantly. It's incredibly strong. I would say this is the strongest Mystic Art in the game, because it actually does something, as opposed to a lot of them which just are passive buffs, which are good, but it's much more powerful to have something like this that entirely changes how the weapon performs in combat. And then on the axe side, we have our big gouge passive here is Cornered Boar, which gives you 10%, 10%, and then 20% for a total of 40% damage reduction when you're in critical state. And with the amount of HP I have, it's very easy to dip below critical and still reap the benefits of having Cornered Tiger and Cornered Boar active. On the katana side, I did grab Relentless because I have no stamina with this build, so this is really helpful, just giving me a little extra stamina to work with, another 10 stamina. So putting my total of stamina at 110. And I didn't want to put any points into Heart because that would weaken my build. So better just to spend the Samurai skill points and get the passive, honestly. Going through the actual combat skills, we have Spear Fall on top stance. This creates a hard knockdown opportunity and a final blow follow-up. Windmill, which is this gorgeous AoE attack. We have Water Wheel, very powerful. Twirl, which is our counter, and that'll buff you with extra attack damage, and of course a final blow opportunity. Body Swap is just a positioning skill, pretty handy because you can follow that up with thrusts to the back of the enemy. Low stance, we have Tornado. It does both a shockwave and a big hard hitting, a multi-hitting combo. That big twirl there he does, that hits multiple times. It's very strong. Spear Bash, very handy for a little extra key damage. It's kind of like a really beefy version of a kick attack, but has extra range and it's really fast. Flying Monkey is positioning and can be used offensively with a downward attack after. Spear Shove, pretty handy, is just like a spacing tool. It does huge key damage too, so you hit that and it's like a kick, basically. And Backslash is a getaway tool. On the axe side, axes aren't quite as exciting in terms of the number of skills available. We have Rumbling Earth, just a huge charge, shockwave attack. Heaven and Earth, just a combo ender. Titanic Strength, used out of a block. So some cool offensive stuff. Try Spark is pretty good. Spirit Wind is kind of like a parry hit. I wouldn't rely on it. It's not as good as an actual counter attack or parry. Roar, just kind of like a spacing tool. Or lets you get in on someone actually, so it's like a pressure tool. Mad Spinner, pretty good. That's going to let you do a lot of beefy damage to demons, and I'd recommend having it on every axe build. That's a combo ender that'll throw people. It's kind of fun. And again, this one you've already seen. So really what we have going on here is a build that focuses on making the strongest samurai as humanly possible. So we have a lot of fun skills, and that's going to like just beat away at his key super fast. That tornado, which you just saw right there. So going through again some of the alternatives in terms of spirit animals. You might have seen some builds that, like for example, the infinite living weapon Shinka build, which is very popular right now. Basically, because it has an A+ in recovery, you can actually use it infinitely. You get so much Amrita back every time you kill someone, and you can even get Amrita back when you hit somebody with the right spell equipped. So you just can stay in this state forever. Although the attack enhancement's a lot less than Enko, that doesn't really matter if you can just use it forever. There's no stamina in living weapon mode. There's no health in living weapon mode. You can just basically beat on people forever, and that's a little broken. I'm hoping that once PvP is released, that gets patched out a little bit, because right now it's ridiculous and kind of defeats the purpose of playing the game, which of course is stamina management and really being an awesome looking samurai and having all these cool skills, which you don't really have access to in living weapon. You can only mash light attack in living weapon, and that's not terribly exciting. And also, in the case of something like that, using your skills appropriately can kill someone almost as quickly as when you're in living weapon mode. It's not as easy, especially when you have multiple enemies. You have to kind of space them out. Use your Guardian Spirit, then final blow. Oh, yeah. So that was a pretty beefy attack, but our health regen is going to help us recover from that. So we are, again, playing on New Game Plus, and enemies hit like a truck. Just a ridiculous amount of damage done by all enemies in New Game Plus. So there is going to be the temptation to just cheese things out, for sure. But I don't think it's necessary. I think by using your Guardian Spirit effectively and your spells effectively and your buffs, you can actually just play the game normally and do just fine, even on such a hard difficulty. You're really not going to have too much trouble. And you know, maybe it's an antiquated idea that there be honor in a game like Nioh once PvP comes out, but I would like to see people dancing and dashing around each other, and not just using living weapon and kind of infinitely attacking until the other person's dead. And then, I'm not even sure how that would work. It certainly wouldn't be very exciting to watch, just spamming light attack forever, while everybody's in living weapon mode and not taking any damage. It would be a little goofy, that's for sure. And yeah, I enjoy the combo system. The game focuses on all these cool skills, and so I like to see that be taken advantage of. Also, the axe is kind of like your go-to close quarters weapon, just because spears do bang off walls, and so they're really bad in close quarters. And having that hammer is a nice weapon to use when you're really up against the wall. So yeah, we're doing pretty good so far on New Game Plus. Really, no difficulties. Now, the one thing we have on the ninjutsu side is just the poison pill, just because I haven't invested it all in dexterity, but that's still a useful thing to have, like, at all times. Now, if you do want a living weapon, that's certainly an option. It does a lot of damage with Enko, but it's just not terribly exciting to... you just have less access to things and abilities. So, use it when you're in a bind. You'll do a lot of damage, kill everything real quick, and then it'll wear off. And then you can go back to just kind of playing the game as normal. But yeah, like I said, you still do pretty damn well just with regular attacks and skills. You'll cut through people no problem, and demons. The only difference is that you're not immune to damage. You actually have to play smart still, which is a more enjoyable experience. And if you're feeling pressured against like fast enemies, you can always use slow, and then you really have nothing you need to worry about. Now, if you knock off his horn, of course, you can just finish him off like that. And you get that huge final blow damage thanks to the buff on the weapon. Just puts him down, no problem. So yeah, this is another episode of Retro Roleplay with Nifty, and we're just showing off some Nioh action. Let's try, just to finish things off, take down that big demon. You really want to make sure... Oh, okay, looks like the little guy turned into a big guy. That's kind of scary. And yeah, you're free to just dodge around him. Like, this game isn't that difficult to begin with, so using like a cheat or an exploit or just something that's ridiculously overpowered so that you never have to worry about your character dying, basically it's game over at that point. So if you're looking for something a little more challenging but still very powerful for endgame, I would recommend the Body and Mind build. It's a pretty solid choice. Arguably the most powerful basic samurai build available. So if you want to kill a lot of stuff, be really beefy and have a lot of health, have some magic, but still be mortal in this game, then I would highly recommend the Body and Mind build. Alright, so that's this has been Nifty with Retro Roleplay, and we're signing off here, but this game is so much fun to play that you can basically do this forever. So we'll do one more. Of course, we have Living Weapon up again, so we're free to just go ham now. And the thing is, it doesn't even do that much more damage than basic weapon attacks. And Enko has a huge attack enhancement, so sometimes I feel I can kill things faster with basic skills. Alright, take care. Signing off.